Hello, welcome to the E11 Show. I'm your host, John Malone, and in this episode, I've brought on regular Eric Taylor. And as for our guest, he's from Sacramento, California, and he's an environmental engineer. Very interesting. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Jeff Bench.
Well, thank you. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. And even though I'm an environmental engineer, I wrote a book about American holidays. And so that's what I'm here to talk about, or what I'm here to talk about is my book called The History of American Holidays. Um, it's a thought provoking glimpse into America. Uh, as an engineer, it's got to be that way for me. Delving into these things a little deeper than usual. Um, and I've kind of found that holidays are really important in America because we don't have much else that unifies us because everybody here came from somewhere else. It's not like we have a geographic commonality or race or religion, common religion. We're just kind of bound by our own culture, I guess, this melting pot that we are. So um, the book started out as just fun emails that I would send to people, and over the course of 10 years or so of sending out holiday emails, I compiled sort of the best of the best and created a book. I was thinking today we could talk about Mother's Day because that's sort of the next holiday that's coming up. I kind of gather that you folks are not necessarily in America. Are you guys in England or Ireland somewhere?
Well,
I'm in New
I'm from
York.
yeah, Eric Taylor's from New York, and I'm from Manchester in England.
Okay, because I know we got a little bit goofed up on the timing on one of my previous uh, reservations here, and I thought it was in England or somewhere. And Mother's Day has its roots sort of back to England and Ireland. I don't know if you folks still celebrate Mothering Sunday, but that's one of the first uh, Mother's Day type celebrations. In that, well, it does go all the way back to the Greek and Roman gods. They celebrated motherhood. The Greek goddess Rhea was the mother of the gods and the daughter of Mother Earth, and she was married to this guy Cronus, who was worried about his children overthrowing him, so he would swallow each newborn baby from Rhea. And finally, she was able to hide one of her newborns, Zeus, and I think I pronounced it right. It's Zeus, who grew up in hiding and then developed a potion that he gave to Cronus, caused him to throw up all the other children, and they all lived happily ever after. And then Zeus eventually did overthrow Cronus to fulfill the prophecy. So that's the story of Rhea. But then in the 1500s, in the United Kingdom and Ireland, they had this practice where you would return to your church, the church of your baptism, during Lent, and so that became a return to the mother church, and then it grew from that to become for moms and their families to return to their mother church. Yeah, I was wondering if you guys in England knew what Mother's Sunday was.
Yeah.
Do you know what Mothering Sunday is?
No, not specifically the term, but I've heard something somewhat similar, like Mother's Day.
Yeah, Mother's Day is what we have, but it originated from Mothering Sunday that was practiced in England and Scotland and Ireland.
Oh, cool, cool.
Yeah, I didn't know that till I did this, started writing my column. But in any case, so you heard Mothering Sunday. Did you hear about anything about the 1850s in the United States?
I heard of a 1850s in the United States, but not much from there.
Okay, I will pick up with the ending of Mothering Sunday and the beginning of the 1850s in the United States. And then you guys can ask me questions anytime you want along the way.
Okay, cool.
Just,
Yeah.
just jump right in.
Great.
Yeah, get tired of my own voice.
So what got you thinking about writing books about American holidays?
Oh, good question. What got me thinking about it was I have my own business, an engineering business doing environmental. I needed a mechanism to keep in contact with my clients and my associates, suppliers, etc. And people suggest, oh, maybe you could write a newsletter. And that's a lot of work, and no one wants to read about technical stuff, you know. And I didn't want to write about it. And I said, well, how about if I just write something for each holiday? And then I said, it's kind of like a constant companion or constant contact kind of thing. So I started doing it, and my goal was just a little tidbit about the history of the holiday, and then tie it into current events. And then I would always add a few quotes at the end. So give people something to ponder. That's how I got started. And then after doing that for about 10 years, I had quite a collection of email columns, whatever you want to call them. And so that's how I came to pull the book together.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if I pick up where we left off, in England, Scotland, Ireland, they had Mothering Sunday, where mothers and families would return to the church of their baptism during Lent. And then it was celebrated on the fourth Sunday during Lent. And that became sort of the first Mother's Day. And that started back in the 1500s. So, 500 years ago. But anyway, in the United States, it was like the 1850s when mother groups, they'd get together to try to figure out infant mortality and sanitary conditions in the homes, and they'd all work together. And those gatherings became sort of the first Mother Days in the United States. Around the same time, women were trying to get the right to vote. And both were kind of long, hard fought battles. Mother's Day took a lot through the Civil War and afterwards, and that didn't become a holiday until 1914. And women's right to vote was even a harder battle. They even lost a Supreme Court case in 1875. And it wasn't until 1920 that women in the United States gained the right to vote. So it took like 70 years. Things kind of moved slow. And then similarly, women's integration, into society here in the United States has taken a real long time. They couldn't even open a bank account or have a credit card or even get a home loan unless they're married until the early 1970s. I find that kind of amazing to think that my mom could not get a bank account, when I was born. So for a few years after that too. So anyway, imagine that if you had to go to open a bank account and deposit your paycheck, and the bank said no because your spouse wasn't there to open it for you. And then the woman who was the lawyer for that back in 1971, who won the case again, in the Supreme Court, she later on became a Supreme Court justice, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, if I said that right. Yeah. And she became quite famous until she passed away recently. So, so I find those to be some interesting tidbits surrounding Mother's Day.
Okay.
Okay.
And what other discoveries have you found out about American holidays?
Oh, other interesting things?
Discoveries, yeah.
Things that I find interesting, like one of the things I find interesting about a lot of these holidays, they all required a champion to kind of carry the torch to get it recognized as a holiday. And like Memorial Day, it was groups of women after the Civil War would have gatherings to kind of heal, the moms, wives, daughters fallen soldiers, and they would just get together in the park, and they were all across the United States at the time, which was basically the eastern United States. But they didn't have the communication that we have now. But they were all doing very similar things. And eventually that grew into Memorial Day. So I find that interesting. Thanksgiving was a woman who wanted to recognize the Day of Gratitude in the United States. So a lot of the traditional stories around Thanksgiving are they began with the Pilgrims and the Indians. And while that may be true, the holiday itself was a woman who in the 1800s who wanted a national day of thanks to be recognized, and she championed for Thanksgiving to be a national holiday for like 20 or 30 years until President Lincoln signed it into a holiday.
Wow, amazing.
Yeah, it's just the history of it's amazing. I think each holiday has a little tidbit. Like for instance, January 1st is New Year's Eve, but do you know why the month of is called? Well, you know why it's called January, for instance?
Yeah, I guess so.
You want to guess? Why is it called January?
Oh no, I never said that. It's just
Uh,
yeah.
well, I think it was Julius Caesar, one of the Roman emperors, and he set the Julian calendar and made January the first month, named after the Greek god Janus, who's a two-headed god that can look forward and backwards at the same time. So he wanted the first month of the year to be a time where you look back on the previous year and, in sort of a state of recollection and remembrance, and then also look forward to the year ahead. And that's why it's named January. And to this day, we still do that. We always make our lists of top movies of the past year, celebrities that died during the past year, big news events of the past year. And then we all look forward to do New Year's resolutions. So that's a holiday that's been going on for since the beginning of man almost.
Okay. So, other than looking up on American holidays, what else do you do in your free time?
Oh, my free time?
Yeah.
Yeah. In the winter, I go skiing, and in the summer, I play golf.
Okay.
I live in Northern California, so we have the Tahoe region, which is Lake Tahoe, and the Sierra Nevada mountains. So we have really good skiing in the winter if it's climate change doesn't take it away from us, and then golf is something to do in the summer.
Cool.
Yeah, cool.
What was life for you growing up?
What was it like for me in terms
Yeah.
of
What was life for you in general growing up? Like your family, your upbringing, your
Pretty much, what was your childhood?
Yes, your childhood.
Yeah, so I grew up in Minnesota, and there it was cold in the winter and hot in the summer. And I grew up in a small town, and it was about 30,000 people, college town. So we always had collegiate things going on. And I would say it's like a childhood, it was kind of carefree. I kind of sometimes feel like I had blinders on. I just was in my own little world, doing whatever I wanted, got good grades, but didn't really have to work too hard to get them. So was able to sort of stay out of trouble. I always had this theory: if your grades are good, no one's going to bother you. But yeah, just lived in my own little world and played basketball in the winter there for fun and in high school sports. And everyone's a football outdoor activities, even as a kid, in terms of skiing and hiking and things like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Fabulous.
Yeah, it's very Americana, small town, everyone knew each other kind of place.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So go on.
I was going to ask you guys, you're one of you is in New York and the other's in England.
Yeah.
And how did you come to do this podcast?
Well, it all started long, long ago. It was
Oh, nice.
April of 2021. There was this guy from Scotland named by the name of Owen Walker, but he's also known as Risk11, and he wants to create a group that is basically a group of content creators just making skits and live streams and other forms of multimedia on the internet. I've approached him saying, I want to join your team. And he's like, yeah, sure, come on in. And then as the months go by, I've tried to get more people to join in. And of course, Eric Taylor was one of them. And then, of course, fast forward to the winter of 2020-21. The Team Sketch podcast is where we first got our start. And then when January this year approached, Risk11 was like, do you want to start your own podcast? And I was like, yeah, sure. And January 5th of 2022, I launched my first episode. It was a massive hit. And to this day, it still is a massive hit. And then I had Eric Taylor in that first episode. It was quite a success. And I've been doing this for like 3 months now, and I'm doing pretty well ever since.
Wait, it's only been 3 months? I thought it was more.
No, it's like exactly it's been nearly 3 months, well, nearly 4 months exactly since I started doing this podcast.
It feels like it's been longer, to be honest.
Oh, yes, it sure does.
Yeah, I'm kind of amazed by what you guys do. And how many folks like me do you talk to in an average day?
Well,
Hmm.
you mean in terms of like interviewing people
Yeah,
throughout the week?
yeah.
Well, okay.
Maybe
Um,
3 a week, 5 a week, 20 a week. I'm just kind of curious. It seems like you got a cool thing going.
yeah. Well, it kind of depends on when I sent listings out to ask people to come onto this podcast. The least I've gotten was 3 a week, which is like average upholding with like the 3 episodes I release each week. But there's many I've gotten was 12 guests in 1 week, and it was mad.
Yo, so that's a lot for you then,
Oh yes.
because that's like a couple of days.
You know, also unrelated. I don't know why Risk doesn't use his real name. It actually sounds more professional.
Yeah.
Like his actual name actually sounds more professional. He says.
Oh yeah.
I don't know why he doesn't. I don't know why he doesn't use his real name. It's not bad.
I mean, it is social media, so you got to go with a different alias just in case, you know.
That's true.
Ah yes, the world of social media, different aliases, the same person. Wow.
Yeah, I used to go by a lot of aliases, but then I just stopped because I couldn't decide on which alias I want to go by.
It happens.
So you thought your original name turned out to be the best.
Yeah. And also I don't know why I typed Taylor twice. I'm just now realizing this.
Oh yeah, I never knew that. Oh yes. So, if your life was a meal, what would it be?
Like a meal?
Yes. If your life was a meal, what would it be?
Never really thought of that, but let's just wing it. I would have a lot of courses on it because I feel like I've done a lot of different things, and it would. And I like to eat. I consider myself a little bit of a foodie, so it would have to be a little bit on the gourmet side. Could be a brunch or a dinner. Let's go some sort of appetizer and a nice wine pairing. Probably like a sea scallops and a Chardonnay kind of thing, and then a salad, where mixed greens and a light vinaigrette, and like to have avocado and tomatoes and cucumber and maybe some seeds of some sort sprinkled in to give a little salt to it. And then main course would be some sort of fish, again, more seafoody, like maybe a sea bass or even a salmon. Yeah, a salmon would work well with potatoes, maybe even roasted root vegetables. And then some sort of, and the wine, probably maybe a good wine with that. Maybe a cab. And then what would I have for dessert? Got to end on a high note, chocolate with a port. That's it. There you go.
Oh yes. Oh yes. I love that last part. So creamy and chocolatey. Yow.
A dark chocolate. Definitely dark.
Oh yes, absolutely. Oh yes. And that is all we have for this episode. It was great having you here, Jeff, talking about the histories of American holidays, how they were started, and what derivations they've came from, and so on and so forth. It's been amazing.
Yeah, well, I appreciate the time, and if I can plug my book a little bit, I appreciate that as well. History of American Holidays. Look for the second edition. It's much better than the first. And if you guys would like to talk about other holidays as they come up, I'd love to do that as well.
Okay, great. And until next time, stay tuned for more.